I really don't think that it is possible for the Flames to move forward or do any sort of meaningful winning with the current culture and philosophy in the room.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today, we are going to be talking all about culture and what it is, what the Flames are currently working with, and just not being in the business of making friends. Make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's ask the $1 million question. What defines, or how do you define culture? What defines a locker room? Like what starts the philosophy or the beliefs of a good locker room? I think that it's really the standards that are set upon you by management, but also your teammates, right? You want the commitment, you want the consistency, you want the passion, you want to be there. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Everyone buys in. And there has to be a clear goal, because it doesn't matter if you're a cup contender and you go out there every night after your captain gives this most motivating pep talk speech about how, there's 5 more games until we're off to the Stanley Cup playoffs, and, this is our year. We've overcome this. We've overcome that. Or you're an injury-plagued team in April saying, it has been a long 6 months. It has been a great season. We have done what we can. We've left our heart out on the ice, and let's, make the most of these last few games. The culture starts with the mentality in the room, because if you have a bunch of grumpy people, yeah, it's not going to be very fun. I mean, we've kind of seen it with, I guess, Vancouver recently in terms of, the constant drama, the storylines, the narratives, the trade rumors, and, everything like that. Like, you don't really want disgruntled players. It happens from time to time. I mean, I think that last season when Nikita Zadorov's agent went live and basically said he's requesting a trade out of there before anyone else knew, really soiled the relationship between him and the team a little bit, and not even just the team, but his teammates as well. I guess, what is allowed to happen in your locker room? Are you going to let, your coach, like I think back to Daryl Sutter and how the Flames didn't have a captain, but Sutter was just like psychological warfare on these goaltenders. Or Michael Backlund stepped up and went toe-to-toe with Sutter, yelling and screaming and throwing swears at each other. That going to bat for your teammates against your coach shows a lot of leadership. It defines, okay, maybe we are, like, we're all friends and we all want this same thing and we're all working towards it. How do we band together and continue this positive attitude throughout the season and hopefully maybe the playoffs? I think that it's not even just about speaking up in big moments like that. It's about rallying after a few bad games in a row. And it's also reminding everyone that it's a long season, and just because you're, on a 10-game point streak, that doesn't mean that your season is in the bag. The team might have, let's say lost, or no, sorry, went 9-0-1 on a road trip or something, whatever the case may be. That would be a really long road trip. But during a recent stretch, and, things are kind of looking better for that team. They're, they're in a playoff spot. They're getting talked about. But this is an unprecedented run. But it's important to remember that it's not about what they're saying. It's about what is happening on the ice and in that locker room. And I think that with, like, every team sort of has their thing. I specifically remember the Michael Backlund stuff happening, those stories coming out after Sutter left and Backlund was named captain. And then I think back to when the Kyle Beach interview went live and Patrice Bergeron made all of his teammates in Boston sit and watch the interview and basically say, this is unacceptable. We will never do anything like that in this locker room. And if you see something, say something. You're supported. And I think that that's important because you never know what is going on in a locker room. And I think it's important, really, just as a human being, to know that not only your captain has your back, but your other teammates. I think about, these teams that go on these crazy runs in the postseason, and they're all like best friends, but it's not like they're not winning because they're best friends. The two kind of go hand in hand. Does that make sense? But coming up next, we are going to talk about the Flames culture and kind of what is going on in Calgary, because I don't even know if we know anymore. There is nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time scrolling through thousands of tickets to find what you're looking for. I used Game Time multiple times recently so I can purchase some tickets for the Saddle Dome the last few home games of the season, because I knew that they would find me the best deal with the great seats, and I wouldn't have any doubts when using them. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's talk about the culture in Calgary, because there are a lot of different things that make up culture, right? Like, what type of energy do you bring to the ice? Like, when I think of the Flames, like, it's a gritty, underdog, underestimated group. But I don't necessarily think that fits the current status of the team. this team is still operating under the premise of win and get in, which I think is kind of crazy. I think that we are beyond past that. I expected that to change when Craig Conroy took over, and here we are still kind of doing the same thing. And I'm not saying the Flames needed to lose like every game this season or anything like that, but I don't necessarily think they should be fighting for a playoff spot. I think that shouldn't, like, yeah, of course you want to make the playoffs, but at the end of the day, what's going to happen? What is likely going to happen? I saw someone say that the Flames have won more playoff rounds, or have won 2 playoff rounds in the 14 years the Sabres haven't made the playoffs. That's bad. That is not a winning culture. That is not setting you up for success by any means. Because to me, that just tells me, as management, you're not interested in making your team better and really looking at it from a long-term point of view. It is about that instant gratification, which you are never, ever, ever going to fulfill with this approach. They need to look themselves in the eyes and realize, okay, we have to do something differently. And it starts with us. I think that the philosophy around the Flames locker room is everyone's friendly. Got to keep it lighthearted. Got to make sure everyone's happy, which isn't a bad thing. But, if you're just going to work to hang out with your buddies, like, what are you doing? And it feels like the Flames are just in a position where it's more about, like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to have fun while playing hockey. Nothing wrong with that. But it feels like the priorities just aren't where they maybe should be. I don't know. I think it's hard to really put that on the players. I think that a lot of them have done exceptionally well this year, but I just don't know how to articulate it in a good way, because we know that this team, like, they're friends. They're friendly with each other. They get along. It's a close group of guys, and I don't think Conroy wants to pull from that. And I understand, you don't want to trade a guy who's super close and who's beloved in the locker room, but sometimes you have to. And we're going to talk more about that a little bit later, but the biggest thing I am missing is the actual commitment to building a winning team. And I'm not talking about the players, because they can only do so much. I'm not talking about Ryan Huska. I'm talking about Craig Conroy, Don Malone. I don't even think Don Maloney is in a position anymore. But either way, Craig Conroy and his constituents. This is not a winning hockey team, which has been part of the problem I swear to God, every single year I've covered this team. They are not a winning team. You can't put any more Band-Aids on this problem. You need to start removing them. I don't know if, like, soft is the right word, because I feel like that has, like, such a negative connotation to it, especially in sports, but it feels like you just want everything to be hunky-dory, peachy keen, and, like, not in a bad way, but in a way that you would want, like, your office job to be. You don't want to go to work and have to hit the ground running and, maybe do a little extra work to get there. And, heaven forbid you get along with your coworkers. But where's the compete? I get it. There are a lot of injuries with this team. It's been a tough year for a lot of these guys. But maybe this summer, something shifts in the universe again. Maybe the Flames end up trading Rasmus Andersson. Okay. They end up trading him. Now what? I think that sends a message as, we're going to pull whatever punches we need to pull in order to build a better team. And I think that makes a lot of people kind of uncomfortable because you don't want to disrespect a guy that has given his entire NHL career to this team, to the community, has a family here. Or even if that's not the case, someone that's been here a few years and they have really made a difference in the locker room and the community. Like, you don't want to get rid of those guys. But at some point, you have to remember, like, we're not here to make friends. We're here to win the Stanley Cup. And those hard choices happen. And they have to happen. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck in an endless loop. Maybe, just maybe, some things happen over the summer that kind of shift Craig Conroy's focus back to rebuilding. You don't need... I think that tanking has such a super negative connotation to it. And when I say like, oh, team tank, I think that it's more like it's okay if they lose to get the higher draft pick. I don't think that they're ever going to actually throw games or anything like that. But it is just unbelievable that we are still having this conversation. But coming up next, we are going to talk about what has to happen and how these successful teams just rip the Band-Aid off here on Locked On Flames. The NCAA tournament is here. FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who is cutting down the nets. So, I mean, we do know that 4 number 1 seeds have the opportunity to do this, which should be very cool in the men's tournament. The FanDuel app is simple and easy to use. And when I win, I get paid instantly. There is no waiting around. I think that it's the most convenient feature on the app, as well as being able to navigate the lines and props as such. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames and making Locked On Flames part of your day. Make sure you are following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Just Belmosto. Hard trades have to happen. They have to happen. And sometimes those trades are done for personal reasons. Tyler Seguin. Sometimes they are done to, not lose a player for nothing. Jonathan Huberdeau, Matthew Tkachuk sort of situation here. Or maybe you just need to clear some cap space, and this really good player is the one you have to move. And I guess we need to focus on, like, we need to put the blinders on and not think about the playoffs, not think about anything other than making a better hockey team. And in order to do that, you have to pull some punches. You're not running a country club. You're not running a book club. You are running a hockey team. Emotions are going to run high. It's natural. But some of these trades, like I think of, again, Huberdeau from Florida, to Calgary. Brad Marchand was traded. The team's captain, yeah, they've been pretty bad like all season, but I do think that, you know, sometimes a move like that like starts your rebuild. Like it is the wake up call. Vegas trading Marc-Andre Fleury for crumbs and Mikko Rantanen, who was supposedly more than willing to take a discount, but Colorado was just not having any of it. This is something that is just super unfortunate and part of the business. If you want to win, you have to understand that. It will never, I mean, I don't want to say it will never be personal, but I don't think that there is an instance with the Flames that I can think of off the top of my head in the last 5 years, maybe longer, where a trade was personal. I think that the Flames do a good job of taking care of their players and their families, which is obviously fantastic. Like you want that. But when everything's going great, like on, I guess, like the social side of things, and your product on the ice is kind of going to crap, you have to look at the on-ice product. I don't care that there's a bachelorette party for these wags this weekend. I don't care about your family's Easter egg hunt, and like 3 of the other Flames families are going. I mean, I do, but not when it comes to constructing my hockey team. I want to win. And if that means taking someone out of this Easter egg hunt to go ahead and make a necessary trade, whether it be for clearing cap space, draft capital, or for the sake of truly getting better. Like it has to be done. And I think Conroy does understand that. And I understand the second year was a lot different. But I think most people expected the exact opposite of the Flames. And they've proved people wrong. But now there's still such a wide gap between them in the second wild card spot. So it's just going to end in disappointment regardless. It's really, really stinky to think about. But that will do it for me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for joining me and tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic evening. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day.